Now at 9, the mysterious murder site in Kansas has a new owner. We'll take a look into the story of the Bloody Benders. Plus, an art gallery in Pittsburgh invites locals to make their own voodoo dolls just in time for Halloween. And
Israeli forces bombard the Gaza Strip while Hezbollah launches new attacks in the north. I'm Brian Yennis in Jerusalem. I'll have the very latest coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Elise Snowy. A tractor trailer this morning overturned on I-49 near Neosho, Missouri. It happened just before 11:30 this morning near the Highway 60 exit. No one was injured in the crash. There was a steady rain at the time of the crash, and the trailer temporarily blocked a portion of the right lane. Yesterday, Friends star Matthew Perry died at the age of 54. Law enforcement has confirmed to Fox that the Friends star was found dead at a home in the Los Angeles area in what appears to be a drowning. An autopsy is pending according to records from the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office. Perry is most well known for playing the beloved character Chandler Bing in the 90s sitcom Friends. He also starred in several movies, including the comedy 17 Again and Fools Rush In. In the past, Perry has opened up about struggling with addiction, and he has been recognized for his advocacy helping others on their journey to sobriety. Last year, Perry published his book, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, a memoir, sharing stories about his battles with addiction and his acting career. Chief Meteorologist Doug Hetty joins us with a first look at weather.
Well, definitely turned out to be a wet, very cold day for us today. High temps. We could only get to 40 during the morning hours. We did drop to 36 during the afternoon. So pretty much a midnight high, sat into the 30s all day long. Average high 66 degrees, so well shy of that mark. And we're still sitting into the 30s. Still, some of the roads are wet. We have some drizzle out there, so be careful if you are going to be out on the roadways later on tonight. But all the heavier, more persistent rain is now shifting out of the region. In fact, we'll start to clear out a little bit later on tonight. We do still have some light showers, mainly in our southern counties. Also, the temperatures, look at this. I mean, the front's way down through northern parts of Mississippi, but look at this cool air filtering in, and it's going to be sticking around over the next few days. We're going to be talking about that in your Halloween forecast here in just a bit.
We'll see you soon, Doug. The story of the Bloody Benders has haunted the Kansas area for centuries. Now, with new updates on the property, the case comes back to life and leaves researchers with even more questions. KOAM's Jasmine Knight has the story.
The Benders family, also known as the Bloody Benders, began their terror in the early 1870s by allegedly murdering 11 visitors at their bed and breakfast in Cherryville, Kansas. The first 10 murders virtually went unsolved until a well-known doctor by the name of William H. York also went missing.
A lot of attention was paid to Kate Bender, and Kate Bender was the youngest member of the Bender family, and she was a spiritualist, faith healer, and I think that she may have gotten a bad rap. She was accused of being the mastermind of the operation, and I think there was some misogyny going on there. So I think we need to reevaluate what we know about the Benders and not just automatically assume that a woman who was into spiritualism was the mastermind of it.
The Bender family reportedly fled the town and were never discovered. Recently, the Bender property was bought by a researcher, Bob Miller. Miller has worked with the University of Kansas to make new discoveries.
So far, they've done a site survey. They believe they know where the cabin was located. They haven't done any digging yet, no ground penetrating radar. But I think if there's anything new that comes out about the Benders, it's going to come from this type of work.
Author Max McCoy continues to tell the story of the Benders to ultimately change the narrative.
I'm not convinced that everything is known yet about the Benders. I think there are some surprises in store for us as this research continues.
Researchers continue to make new discoveries about the Benders every single day. The property, maintained and upkept by the new owner, Bob Miller, will hopefully be turned to a Benders museum. Reporting in Pittsburgh, Jasmine Knight, KOAM News.
Today's presentation on the new updates was held at the Pittsburgh Public Library. Halloween crafters had the opportunity to get in touch with their creepy creative side in Pittsburgh, Kansas, as Art Forms Gallery hosted a voodoo doll workshop from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Open to all, attendees crafted their dolls under instructor Brenda Hayes' guidance.
Just seeing everybody, their imagination run wild with how they're going to do it. You know, how I do mine is going to be completely different from how the students do theirs. The colors they choose, you know, just different techniques on how they're putting it together.
The cost was $35 and a unique addition to Halloween celebrations. Tonight, the Light of Light Church in Neosho hosted their annual trunk or treat. Kids dressed up in costumes and played games while adults passed out candy. The event also featured a chili cook-off. Hundreds of children were in attendance and majority participated in a costume contest.
Mainly they enjoy getting in their costumes and dressing up, so it gives them one more night to go out and have a good time. And so we want the kids to have a good time, families have a good time.
Trunk or Treat has been going on for at least 15 years. For the future, they hope to see even more kids attend. The Halloween weekend celebrations continued in Weir, Kansas today. The city hosted a Halloween party that took place at the Weir Civic Center. The event featured a costume contest and a pumpkin contest with small cash prizes up for grabs.
Seeing the kids have a good time and you know, the weather's not very good, so we're hoping for a good turnout.
My favorite part is that I got to participate in it when I was a kid. So coming back to be a part of hosting it is super exciting for me.
The costume contest included various categories, including youngest, oldest, princesses, and superheroes. Later, dozens of states have joined forces to hold social media giant Meta accountable. Today, Sunday, marks World Stroke Day. The goal is to bring attention to this serious medical problem and to make people aware of how to prevent and treat the condition. It's estimated 1 in 6 people will experience a stroke during their lifetime. Strokes are common. About 15 million people around the world experience a stroke each year, and it's the leading cause of disability. A new study on weight loss says that when you eat may help affect how much you lose. Research at the University of Illinois Chicago say that intermittent fasting, where people eat only at certain times during the day, is a better way to lose weight instead of counting calories. The scientists say when people ate only during a time-restrictive period, like noon to 8 p.m., they lost more weight than others who cut calorie intake by 25%. Long-term blood sugar levels also dropped for those who ate during time-restricted periods. One study author says it's easier to count time than to count calories. It's almost time for a time change, and that could be a literal headache. Most of the U.S. falls back an hour when daylight savings time ends November 5th. An expert from the University of Southern California says that's hard on the body. He says it's a good idea to have migraine drugs or painkillers on hand for headaches. Other issues include seasonal affective disorder and sleep cycle disruptions. To help, he suggests exercise, morning time outside, and light therapy. Chief Meteorologist Doug Hetty is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, an infant play accessory is recalled for possible injury risks.
Well, it definitely felt like winter for us today. Very dreary day, very raw, wet day. All day long, really the entire weekend was pretty much on the wet side. We still have at least drizzle in a lot of spots out there right now. Still some showers in our southern counties. Nice shot downtown Joplin. This is our Cornell Complex Tower Cam. Downtown, you can see the flags are blowing, so it's still breezy, and it makes it feel even colder than what it actually is. All right, rainfall, check this out. Almost an inch since midnight. So we needed a nice soaker across the region. 3.38 for the month. Still deficit of almost 11 inches. And look at our temperatures. So we can go back to yesterday morning. We were in the 40s, and then we slowly drifted the other direction into the 30s throughout the daytime hours today. Freeze warning in effect. This is for tonight. This is our first hard freeze. So if you have any plants that you don't think are going to make it, you may want to bring them inside or cover them up. But we're going to be below freezing over the next several nights. But temperatures, they're going to be dipping into the mid-20s. Rainfall amounts, lightest amounts, southeastern Kansas, where you see kind of the brighter greens. Those are areas that picked nearly an inch of rain. So southwestern Missouri did pretty good. All the persistent rain starting to head out of here, but we do still have some light showers in our southern counties, and we are going to be dealing with some drizzle as we go through the next few hours, and then things will start to clear out a little bit for us later on tonight. All right, look at that 30. So we're going to slide back into the 20s. You can see all this cold air from parts of Canada sinking all the way into the southern plains. So we aren't alone. Everybody is pretty cool, and it's also windy. We have these northerly winds at about 10 to 15. It's going to stay breezy as we go through the overnight hours tonight. All right, let me walk you through time. You can see the clouds break up. So by morning, we're going to be clear, but look at these temps. Mid-20s for overnight lows. Quite a bit of sunshine tomorrow. By the noon hour, we're only into the upper 30s. And even with sunshine, we only get to about 41 or 42 tomorrow afternoon, which is crazy. 43 in Pineville, Columbus, 41. Nevada, about 41 degrees. Tomorrow night, we do it again, back down into the mid-20s. In fact, even a little bit colder. And then on Tuesday, we get sunshine. But again, high temps, only in that 40 to about 42 degree range. All right, day planner for you. We're going to be starting in the 20s. We're not going to hit 70. That's a typo. I mean, we're going to go up to about 43 during the afternoon. And of course, if we look into Halloween, so this is Tuesday evening, it's going to be dry, but the kids are going to have to bundle up as we slide back into the 20s by late in the evening on Tuesday. All right, 43 tomorrow, 42 on Tuesday, 53 Wednesday. It's a dry week, sunny week, back into the 60s late this week, and some rain chances next weekend. Elise?
Thanks, Doug. According to the Pew Research Center, about a third of teens ages 13 to 17 are almost constantly using social media. Some research data says this use is the leading cause of the youth mental health crisis in America. Now dozens of states have joined forces to hold Meta accountable. Fox News' Bill Malugin has a story.
Meta has preyed on an entire generation of young people for profit.
More than 30 states, including California and New York, filing a massive federal lawsuit against Meta. State attorneys general accusing the company and its platforms, Facebook and Instagram, of harming children's mental health.
We know Meta has internal documents that include studies and reports discussing the harmful effects of Meta's products.
Amongst the complaints, the AGs accuse Meta of specifically targeting young users by monetizing their attention through data harvesting and targeted advertising. The lawsuit alleges Meta knew its practices could lead to addictive use of its platforms by kids and teenagers, especially teen girls. In addition, the suit accuses Meta of violating the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act by collecting data on children under 13 without their parents' consent, a violation of federal law.
The company knew exactly how these design decisions could and would hook young people to the point of addiction, and yet continued to use them.
In response to the lawsuit, Meta released a statement saying it's committed to providing teens with safe, positive experiences online. The company alleges to have introduced over 30 tools to support teens and their families on this mission. The statement also saying in part, quote, "We're disappointed that instead of working productively with companies across the industry to create clear age-appropriate standards for the many apps teens use, the attorneys general have chosen this path." And at least 9 attorneys general also filed state lawsuits against Meta. The federal and state suits seek financial damages, restitution, and an end to any violations of federal child privacy laws. In Los Angeles, Bill Malugin, Fox News.
Coming up, the UAW is turning up the heat.
And then there was one, how the UAW is turning up the heat on the only automaker still in negotiations with the union. I'm Jonathan Seri in Atlanta. I'll have details coming up.
An infant play accessory is recalled for possible injury risks. Two Costco Jump, Spin, and Play activity centers have been recalled by their parent company, Dorel Juvenile Group. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says that the activity centers can detach or break with a child inside of them, creating possible fall and injury hazards. Centers have a circular hoop base and a play tray suspended by 3 straps. 30 injuries from the product have been reported. Consumers should stop using the activity centers immediately and call Dorel at 877-657-9546 for instructions to get a free replacement. 930,000 Insignia pressure cookers sold at Best Buy are being recalled. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says incorrect volume markings on the inner pot could lead to overfilling and cause liquid to spew from the product, potentially burning someone close by. The agency says the recalled products were sold at Best Buy stores and online from October 2017 to June 2023. The agency says the retailer has received 31 incidents of the pressure cooker's contents being expelled, along with 17 reports of burn injuries. And then there was one. General Motors, and now the only automaker still without an agreement with the United Auto Workers Union. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seri has the latest.
The UAW putting more pressure Saturday on the only automaker left to reach a deal with the union. Workers walking out from a General Motors engine plant in Tennessee. It's GM's largest manufacturing facility in North America, with almost 4,000 employees. General Motors says it's still in talks with the union and hopes to reach a deal as soon as possible. The UAW this past week agreed on contracts with Ford and Stellantis. Those deals came with 25% pay increases over the length of the 4-year contract. It's a drop from the 40% the union was asking for, but Union President Shawn Fain says it's still a win for workers.
We've achieved what just weeks ago we were told was impossible. We have begun to turn the tide on the war on the American working class. And we truly are saving the American dream.
The sticking points in negotiations with GM said to be on retirement benefits and issues with temporary workers. General Motors has more retirees than the other two automakers. Workers are already striking at one of GM's biggest plants in Arlington, Texas, that makes the Chevy Tahoe and Suburban and the Cadillac Escalade. The company says that walkout alone is costing them $400 million a week. A UAW lawyer calling out GM, writing on X, "Imagine everyone is making trucks but you. If everyone else could get it done, what does that say about you?" President Biden this weekend praised the deals reached with Ford and Stellantis. Workers still need to ratify the contracts before they become official. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
A popular rapper is releasing a new food item to go along with one of his most well-known songs. Up next. Don't worry about getting this new spaghetti sauce on your favorite sweater. Rapper Eminem is releasing the Mom Spaghetti Pasta Sauce, named after an iconic line in his song Lose Yourself. The sauce is used at the rapper's restaurant with the same name and is now available to fans across the country. Jars sell for $13 on momspaghetti.com, with orders set to ship out today on Sunday. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Fighting is intensifying along the Israel-Gaza border. Coming up. Fighting is intensifying along the Israel-Gaza border as Israel enters the next phase of its war with Hamas. Though some families of hostages in Gaza remain concerned about the escalated attacks. Fox News national correspondent Brian Yennis has more.
3 weeks after the Hamas massacre, Israel is bombarding the Gaza Strip from the ground, air, and sea.
Explosions ringing in northern Gaza on Sunday. Israeli forces are expanding their ground operation, sending in troops and tanks backed by massive airstrikes. Despite the escalation, Hamas is still firing rockets across the border. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his country has entered the second stage in its war, a fight Israel has no choice but to win.
We will eliminate the enemy on the ground and under the ground. It will be the victory of good over bad, of light over darkness, of life over death.
But some families of hostages held by Hamas fear an all-out invasion could further endanger their loved ones. On Saturday, they asked Israeli officials to pause the fighting and negotiate, saying they would instead support a prisoner swap.
Do you think somebody who wouldn't hesitate to kidnap and abduct a 9-month-old baby is someone you can negotiate with reason with? No.
And there are new concerns this conflict is expanding after Hezbollah fired rockets and anti-tank guided missiles at northern Israel. Israeli forces responded with attack drones to destroy what they say was a terrorist cell in southern Lebanon.
Israel does not have a choice. Israelis have nowhere else to go. They have to defend their borders.
The United Nations says thousands of people in Gaza broke into aid warehouses, stealing food and supplies. The UN says people are scared, frustrated, and desperate amid intensified Israeli airstrikes. In Jerusalem, Brian Yennis, Fox News.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meeting with the representatives of families of hostages taken by Hamas militants. The Israeli Prime Minister saying he will do everything he can to rescue the hostages, emphasizing that their safe return is one of the goals of the war. Netanyahu announcing on Saturday that Israel is entering the second phase of its war with Hamas, and the Israeli military will fight on land, sea, and air to, quote, destroy the enemy. People in Lewiston, Maine gathered to pray for the victims of the mass shooting. The faithful were asked to pray for those who were tragically killed and the others who were wounded. The victims' photographs were displayed on the altar beside glowing candles. So far, 18 people are dead and 13 are injured after a gunman opened fire at a bowling alley and a restaurant Wednesday night. Police identified the gunman as 40-year-old Robert Card. His body was found on Friday at a recycling center in Lisbon Falls, where he once worked. Authorities say Card died of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. The daughter of former President Donald Trump is set to testify at his fraud trial in New York. A judge ruling Friday that Ivanka Trump must appear before the court, rejecting her bid to avoid testifying. An appeals court dismissed her as a defendant in the lawsuit back in June, saying the claims against her were too old. Ivanka Trump left her position as executive vice president of the Trump Organization in January 2017, ahead of former President Trump's inauguration. She is expected to testify on November 6th. Well, the pool for the 2024 Republican primary race for president gets smaller after former Vice President Mike Pence suspends his campaign. Fox News correspondent Mike Meredith has a story.
Former Vice President Mike Pence stunned a crowd here in Las Vegas by announcing that he is dropping out of the 2024 presidential primary. Pence, who launched his campaign back in early June, was still polling in the single digits. He had raised quite a lot of money, but there were questions about whether or not he was going to be able to qualify for the third presidential debate. That one's happening in early November in Miami. Pence says that this was a decision that was tough for him to make, but he also told the crowd that he simply felt this was the time to make the decision.
I came here to say it's become clear to me this is not my time. So after much prayer and deliberation, I have decided to suspend my campaign for president effective today. Now I'm leaving this campaign, but let me promise you, I will never leave the fight for conservative values, and I will never stop fighting to elect principled Republican leaders to every office in the land. So help me God.
Pence was joined on stage after the event by his wife. It's unclear whether or not he's going to offer any endorsement anytime soon, but some of his fellow previous contenders, including former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, had nothing but praise for Pence's past and his lifetime of government service.
He's been a good man of faith. He's been a good man of service. He has fought for America, and he has fought for Israel, and we all owe him a debt of gratitude.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie posted online that I am beyond grateful for everything Mike Pence has done for the country. He has consistently fought for American values from his time in Congress to his governorship and serving the American people as vice president. Pence is the first of the major Republican presidential candidates to drop out of the race. It's unclear whether or not he'll offer a formal endorsement anytime soon or if he'll wait until after a nominee is chosen. Former President Trump, who was also speaking in Vegas today, did not address his running mate's decision in at least the earlier event. In Las Vegas, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
Still ahead, a look into some Halloween games to celebrate the holiday.
For Halloween this year, we're looking for the next big spooky hit that could possibly take the gaming world by storm. I'm Eamon Dignam in New York with some of the possibilities coming up.
Well, it definitely felt like winter for us today. Very dreary day, very raw, wet day. All day long, really the entire weekend was pretty much on the wet side. We still have at least drizzle in a lot of spots out there right now. Still some showers in our southern counties. Nice shot downtown Joplin. This is our Cornell Complex Tower Cam. Downtown, you can see the flags are blowing, so it's still breezy, and it makes it feel even colder than what it actually is. All right, rainfall, check this out. Almost an inch since midnight. So we needed a nice soaker across the region, 3.38 for the month. Still deficit of almost 11 inches. And look at our temperatures. So we can go back to yesterday morning. We were in the 40s, and then we slowly drifted the other direction into the 30s throughout the daytime hours today. Freeze warning in effect. This is for tonight. This is our first hard freeze. So if you have any plants that you don't think are going to make it, you may want to bring them inside or cover them up. But we're going to be below freezing over the next several nights. But temperatures, they're going to be dipping into the mid-20s. Rainfall amounts, lightest amounts, southeastern Kansas, where you see kind of the brighter greens. Those are areas that picked nearly an inch of rain, so southwestern Missouri did pretty good. All the persistent rain starting to head out of here, but we do still have some light showers in our southern counties, and we are going to be dealing with some drizzle as we go through the next few hours, and then things will start to clear out a little bit for us later on tonight. All right, look at that 30. So we're going to slide back into the 20s. You can see all this cold air from parts of Canada sinking all the way into the southern plains. So we aren't alone. Everybody is pretty cool, and it's also windy. We have these northerly winds at about 10 to 15. It's going to stay breezy as we go through the overnight hours tonight. All right, let me walk you through time. You can see the clouds break up. So by morning, we're going to be clear, but look at these temps. Mid-20s for overnight lows. Quite a bit of sunshine tomorrow. By the noon hour, we're only into the upper 30s. And even with sunshine, we only get to about 41 or 42 tomorrow afternoon, which is crazy. 43 in Pineville, Columbus 41, Nevada about 41 degrees. Tomorrow night we do it again, back down into the mid-20s. In fact, even a little bit colder. And then on Tuesday we get sunshine, but again, high temps, only in that 40 to about 42 degree range. All right, day planner for you. We're going to be starting in the 20s. We're not going to hit 70. That's a typo. I mean, we're going to go up to about 43 during the afternoon. And of course, if we look into Halloween, so this is Tuesday evening, it's going to be dry, but the kids are going to have to bundle up as we slide back into the 20s by late in the evening on Tuesday. All right, 43 tomorrow, 42 on Tuesday, 53 Wednesday. It's a dry week, sunny week. Back into the 60s late this week, and some rain chances next weekend. Elise?
All right, thanks, Doug. Well, don't forget, you can be the first to know about the day's weather with the KOAM Skywatch weather app. Get severe weather updates sent straight to your phone free of charge. It's available on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, the KOAM Skywatch weather app. Coming up in sports, the Pitt State football team is only one win away from a conference title. Plus, the Chiefs' 16-game winning streak against Denver was in jeopardy this afternoon. Brock Baldridge has the highlights from the game and more.
Well, it's been 2,965 days since the last time the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Denver Broncos in a football game. The Chiefs last played the Broncos just 17 days ago. The two teams meet once again in the Mile High City. Patrick Mahomes playing this game with the flu as the Chiefs face the Broncos in Denver. Opening drive here, Broncos Russell Wilson tosses it over to Javonte Williams on the screen pass finds the end zone for the touchdown, 7-0 Denver. Second quarter now, 7-3, Denver leads. Wilson drops back, and he's going to fire a rainbow pass missile over to Jerry Jeudy. 39-yard completion there. Later in the drive, Wilson, corner of the end zone, finds Jerry Jeudy again. Broncos lead Kansas City 14-3 at that point. So in the fourth quarter now, Denver still leads 14-9, and this is where the game really turns upside down. Broncos are punting, but McCole Hardman, what are we doing here? Fumbles the football on his own 5-yard line. Denver scoops it up. Massive mental mistake there. A few plays later, Denver takes advantage as Russell Wilson is in trouble but escapes and finds Cortland Sutton for the touchdown to go up 21-9 at that point. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs for the first time since Week 2 of the 2015 season, 24-9 final score.
I take full responsibility for it. The guys, I saw things tonight or this afternoon that I haven't seen before from the guys. So 5 turnovers. I think that's the obvious. 0-3 in the red zone. 17 points. We gave them really off of turnovers. Great field position.
Wasn't good enough. Obviously the turnovers, but just in the execution in general. I mean, they have to do a good job against us with their defense, but we got to execute at a high enough level, and we clearly haven't done it in the 2 games we played against them.
Other games around the NFL on this Sunday. Big upset here. Cincinnati Bengals defeat the San Francisco 49ers on the road, 31-17 final score. And well, Cincy has quietly won 4 of their last 5 games. Then the Miami Dolphins beat the New England Patriots 31-17 at home to improve to 6-2 on the season. That means that the 6-2 Miami Dolphins will face the 6-2 Kansas City Chiefs next Sunday in Germany. Winner of that game will have the #1 overall seed in the AFC. And remember, fans, set those alarm clocks for next week's game because kickoff is at 8:30 a.m. in the morning, Central Standard Time. The Pittsburgh State Gorillas improved to 9-0 on the season after their 55-6 win over Sioux Falls over the weekend. Pitt State has 2 more games remaining in the regular season, including a big road test next week. The Gorillas are 8-0 in conference play. Pittsburgh State can clinch at least a share of the MIAA title with a win this Saturday on the road versus Missouri Western. Pitt State would have to win the final 2 games of the regular season to clinch an outright title, unless if Central Missouri loses to Fort Hays State this week. Well, Pitt State head coach Brian Wright gave his initial thoughts on Missouri Western after their win over Sioux Falls.
Well, regardless of record, they're really good. I feel like that even in those 2 losses they had against 2 really good football teams, they were right there, maybe a player away from winning those football games. So they're an outstanding football team. We're going to have to play really good.
Well, it's been a rough season for the Missouri Southern Lions women's soccer team. The Lions wrap up the regular season today on the road, still looking for that first victory. Fortunately for the Lions, they fall just short yet again. Southern loses this match to Central Missouri 5-0. With that loss, the Lions have been eliminated in the MIAA postseason tournament. So with that, Missouri Southern's season comes to an end. To the professional pitch now, Sporting Kansas City faces new in-state rival St. Louis SC. St. Louis is the #1 overall seed in the MLS Western Conference. Sporting comes off a big win over San Jose via penalty kicks. St. Louis is hosting Kansas City tonight. Then the series is a best of 3, so we'll go back over to Kansas City as Sporting will host St. Louis next Sunday. Well, many of you saw that the Kansas Jayhawks football team upset the number 6th ranked Oklahoma Sooners 38-33 on Big Noon Saturday. And after the game, the students stormed the field. Why not? KU's first win over Oklahoma in football since 1997. Well, after the game, the students decided to tear down the field goal post and throw it into Potter Lake. Quite the scene, diving into the lake and everything. And the Jayhawks celebrate their win over the Sooners in Lawrence. That'll be it with sports. We'll be right back with more news right after this.
Halloween is almost here, and the gaming world is pulling out all the stops to make sure this is the most spectacular holiday so far. Fox's Eamon Dignam has more in this edition of our Fox on Game series.
If you're staying at home instead of trick-or-treating this year, here are some games that can help you get in the spirit of the season. The first is My Friendly Neighborhood. Think Sesame Street, but as actual monsters, not the sweet Muppets you grew up with. The story goes like this. As the puppets faded out of public view, they became feral, looking to hug you or eat you. It's not clear whether they even know the difference anymore. One mode called the Neighbor Horde forces players to survive by avoiding and killing all the googly-eyed threats they can. Currently only on PC, PlayStation and Xbox users will get the chance to play at a later date. If you're a lover of retro-styled games, give Vlad Circus Descend into Madness a try. Players take the role of amnesiac clown Lazy Ollie as he tries to piece his life together after a fire that killed hundreds at his circus. Ollie writes his history down as he interviews creepy non-player characters in a Victorian home in 1921. In Kill It With Fire, you hunt spiders, with friends or by yourself, using bazookas, fire, and guns to kill arachnids that are hidden around your digital home. And adding an extra layer for fans, a virtual reality version of the game released this past April for PC. And that VR version will expand its release in November, so you can join in the fun for Halloween next year. For more of those spooky games, check out the Fox on Tech podcast this weekend. In New York, Eamon Dignam, Fox News.
Up next, a new Halloween movie tops the box office. It's Halloween weekend, and not even Taylor Swift can stop a horror movie from topping the weekend box office. David Daniel has the early estimates for the top 5 films in theaters.
Sometimes I hear her voice. You light a candle.
The Exorcist Believer fell 2 spots to 5th place on ticket sales of $3.1 million. After Death, about people claiming life-after-death experiences, opened in 4th place with $5.1 million. Killers of the Flower Moon moved down to 3rd place, pulling in $9 million.
How does that sound?
Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, lost the top spot, but $14.7 million gave it a domestic total of $149 million, and it's the first concert film ever to top $200 million globally.
Hello?
A spooktacular start for Five Nights at Freddy's. The fright flick based on the video game series scared up $78 million to win the weekend. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with a video of a seal that was crowned the Chunky Monk of the Year. We'll see you back here next time. Thanks for making us part of your night.